Hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of the Debrief podcast, episode number 150. It's Wednesday, May the 28th, 2025, and this will wrap up our coverage of the 2025 Superkarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals. Of course, kicking everything off last week with the Outlet Preview podcast. David Cole was trackside throughout the weekend down at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. My name's Rob Howden. Was not able to be there on that weekend. Wish I was. Because it sounds like there was a lot of excitement. We're going to dive into that throughout this entire debrief as David Cole will essentially unpack everything that happened down in Batavia, Ohio for what was the midpoint of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour for 2025. Let's get things underway and say this week's show presented by Comet Kart Sales. History, success, family. These are the three words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside Indianapolis and has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in their near 6 decades of business. Their brand new, updated online store features everything you need, and they are continually adding new parts to their product line. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. All right, David Cole, you were trackside at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, the essentially middle rounds of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour for 2025, this year's Spring Nationals down in Batavia, Ohio. Just give me an overview of the event itself, weather, how were things down there in Ohio?
Yeah, it's been quite an interesting spring season with the weather because it wasn't warm. The last 3 times we've been to, or at least I've been to Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, it's been super hot, super humid. This time around, we had some on and off rain on Thursday, but the rest of the weekend was dry. But yeah, cooler temperatures all weekend long. We had sun Friday and Saturday, overcast on Sunday, so just different weather, comfortable. That's for sure. We're not out there blistering hot. The track's not getting, super greasy. Yeah. So definitely, talking with a lot of drivers, post weekend, Sunday night, the track wasn't exactly what it used to be. So it's a little different. So drivers were having to, and mechanics and teams were having to adjust their settings and setups for the conditions.
Again, the event, of course, the 16th season of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour. It all started back in 2010 out at Sonoma Raceway, that first edition of the Spring Nationals. This event, this Pro Tour, as people know, 3 weekends, 6 races all told. Best 5 of 6 count for the championship. Of course, the Pro Shifter, just the 3 events with the one main event each weekend. As David had said, much cooler temperatures here. And indeed, it has been a kind of an more odd kind of spring season, as David did say. Dave, let's say in this, of course, intro part of the podcast, hit the by the numbers. You and I talked a lot about it, of course, during the Outlet Preview podcast. The Winter Nationals was a massive draw at 305 entries total. Ended up getting over the 250 mark for the Spring Nationals. The high water mark was the KA 100 senior category at 45, 44 in KA 100 junior. So again, almost 100 drivers racing in the KA categories.
Yeah, sold out categories. So that, going into it, that was the key highlight. Nearly sold out in Pro Shifter and Pro X30 above the 30 mark. So good numbers and good consistent numbers in those 4 categories. Drop in X30 Junior from 46 sold out at Speed Sports to 33, but still a pretty solid outing, which was actually surpassed the numbers that we did have in the cadet categories, which were down in both Mini Swift and Micro Swift, 28 for Mini, 21 in Micro. So a big chunk of the missing entries were in those 2 categories, along with the X30 Junior division as well too. But then Master Shifter at 8. So not exactly the numbers they want. Again, that's kind of, it's on the borderline of being removed for 2026. That's for sure. So
it's odd, David, right? With this kind of resurgence we're having right now, or at least strength we're having in the shifter kart categories, with Pro Shifter having 43 in Texas, then 39 this past weekend. You kind of would have maybe expected a similar, wave of enthusiasm for Master Shifter, but we're really just not seeing that, which is a shame. That's because, again, I go back to the fact that Superkarts USA has always been a shifter kart category. There's always been the master shifter classes. Tom Kutcher himself, owner of SCUSA, was a big part of the G1 karting category back in the day. That was the master shifter. I hate not seeing, 15, 20 guys out there in master shifter right now.
Well, just different factors for it. Possibly the schedule. We talked about being on Memorial Day weekend. Yeah. That took away at least one driver we know of, and Joe Rook, one of the winner on last year's program. So schedule has probably something to do with it. I assume the locations, maybe, there could be more Masters drivers in other parts of the country that don't want to travel to the racetracks that they're following. So, but yeah, I mean, Supernats, we're going to see big numbers, no different than KA Master as well too, with big numbers in Vegas. So it's just a season, a series program or problem where we can't get drivers to commit full year. You look at stars, they're not exactly blowing the water up, or blowing up,
blowing out of the water.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, I got you.
early morning. Yeah. So with their numbers in the Masters category as well too. So again, you look at it. There's so many different factors for the Masters guys. Because they're spending money on themselves, and if they're family people, they probably got a bunch of family stuff going on. Again, May's a tough month with graduation as well too. There's a number of graduations going on. So
in DC, the funny thing for Masters, just to end this segment, is the fact that we do see the Masters come out, like you mentioned, at the big major events, right? Maybe they run some club races. Maybe again, life happens when you're a Masters driver over 30, 40, and 50. You're doing the stuff you have to do. But Supernats, you're going to get a full field. Look at CKNA and the Grand Nationals, right? You look at their CKNA races, there's a good number of drivers in Masters and Legends, but we're 45 plus and 50 plus in Masters and Legends at the CKNA Grand Nationals. So it seems like the Masters guys do love the big race, but maybe they don't like doing the full circuit, right?
There's also the side of it where you really need to be in shape to be competitive in the Masters shifter category. I mean, you look at those that are up front, even the fast guys like a Scott Hargrove, who's still trying to get himself in karting shape, able to lay down, some fast laps, but still it's grueling, especially at a track like Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. It's you drive it differently than anywhere else, based on it's a narrow racetrack, a lot of 180s, a very physical racetrack as well too, especially with the sealer that they have laid down when they first did the repaving. There's definitely a lot of grip. It's not a sliding racetrack. So one more thing to wrap up by the numbers, Rob. This was the second highest SpringNationals in SCUSA Pro Tour history. So 2016 at the PKRA facility in Arizona had 257. So this is the second highest total in the 16-year history.
Very notable. No doubt about that. That's good. Hey, listen, we talk about the hitting those marks, right? The 200, the 250, the 300. You're over 250. And again, talking about an 8-class program and the average is there. And that was a good result. Again, as David had said now, filling us in that it was the second highest SpringNationals total. Very nice. All right, our first break here in this edition of the Debrief, episode 150. By the way, David, that's a marker too. 150 episodes.
Too much of me talking.
That's a lot, man. That's 150 times we've done these debriefs. I love it, man. When we get back after this break, we'll dive into the paddock pass. David's got some information on just the overall weekend down at Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. For over 90 years, DID has been the leading manufacturer for high-quality on- and off-road chain use. DID has been chosen by the top powersport athletes from all over the world and is continuing to grow every day. From the karting track or your off-road adventures to your long street bike trips, DID has a chain to fit your needs. Their kart chain lineup offers variations of chains from high-performance sealed chains to the industry-leading non-sealed 219 HTZ chain. The DID SDH pin treatment is the unique design that allows for a lighter chain for less rotational mass, while still keeping a high tensile strength for peak performance. If you're in the need for a high-quality chain, DID has a chain for all makes and models. With our cutting-edge chain lineup, take your ride to the next level with DID. Visit didchain.com to find a dealer near you.
Welcome to AIM Sports and the groundbreaking Micron 6 karting data logger. Since its inception, AIM Sports has been at the forefront of motorsport technology, revolutionizing how racers gather data. From its early days, AIM has tailored its innovations to provide precise insights, allowing racers to fine-tune their strategies and push their limits. Fast forward to today, and we're excited to celebrate 30 years of Micron by introducing the latest evolution in karting data loggers, the Micron 6. Designed with cutting-edge features, including 25Hz GPS with mil-spec precision, a 6-axis inertial platform, shift lights and alarms, temperature inputs, and a host of wired and wireless expansions. With 2 CAN buses, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi, it's perfect for karting enthusiasts looking to enhance their game on the track. With its advanced suite of sensors, high-speed data acquisition, and easy-to-use interface, the Micron 6 delivers unparalleled performance on track. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, this powerful tool helps you analyze every turn, every lap, even every heartbeat. Imagine a tool that not only records your lap times, but also analyzes parameters like speed, tire temperature, driver inputs, and engine performance. With the Micron 6, you'll gain insights that can shave seconds off your times and elevate your skills behind the wheel. Don't just drive, be data-driven. Join the AIM Sports community today and equip yourself with the Micron 6 to take your karting experience to the next level. Visit aimsports.com to learn more. AIM Sports, 30 years of Micron.
Welcome back to the 150th episode of our EKN Debrief, the wrap-up of our trackside coverage, where we kind of do a race report of the event that happened. We're talking about the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals here today. The Paddock Pass presented by Parolin USA. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products. The brand is rich in history and success, dating back to the early 1990s throughout Europe. Today, Parolin is among the winningest brands in the USA and around the world. Karters can head to the ParolinUSA.com website, where the entire chassis line and parts are available to you, with shipping available all across North America within 48 hours. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. All right, David, this is all you. Paddock Pass, give us some updates on what happened trackside, beginning first and foremost, of course, with what was talked about quite a bit during the offseason, and then coming into the event here. Circuit updates, turn 1 at MCC.
Exactly that. That is what was the focus point last year at the Spring Nationals and all the other events that happened at MCC was the narrowness and the limited amount of room of runoff space for that turn 1, very fast turn 1 section. MCC, the Bailiff family and their partners put together a plan to help expand the runoff area in turn 1 to provide optimal space for drivers going off the racetrack and not bouncing back on the racetrack after hitting the outside barriers to come back and get run over once again. So that was a very welcomed change to the facility. And was tested throughout the weekend, of course, as again, the racing was very heated throughout the weekend. And again, the turn 1, it's very similar, Rob, to the Super Nationals track that has the long straightaway that comes into a long sweeping left-hand corner where we would typically have our EKN media tower. It's very similar to that. It really is, because it's not a hard left. It's a, you look at X30, they're kind of like it's like an on and off type scenario. Your slower categories are full gas all the way through the corner. Shifters are
more like a Lancaster at a long straightaway kind of a thing where you're really rolling a lot of speed through.
No, because that's narrower.
Okay.
Because this is a sweeping corner.
Okay,
like I said, it's not a hard left.
Okay.
It may appear that way, but it's not. So there's just so much speed that, I mean, again, you're trying to carry as much speed through there. So it's a bit chaotic.
Yep.
And the one thing I kind of noticed too, probably for the kids, because again, they're focused on the front bumper rather than looking ahead. It's a blind corner because a cart can get sideways there and be stranded in the middle of the racetrack, and it's still going to cause some chaos. But we did not have what we had over the previous 2 years, so it's definitely a lot safer.
I love that. All right, one of the things we talked about, David, in the Outlap preview podcast was there was a bunch of international drivers coming and running with Velocity Racing. Let's give me an update on that. Who actually was trackside?
Well, not a bunch, a couple.
Okay.
Casper Schormans from the Netherlands came over. He is a factory KZ driver for Superkarts. He came over and ran the X30 category. Great conversation with him trackside. He was very excited to be making his first start in the U.S. Back to single speed. Something he did as a junior driver was a very fast Rotax junior driver. He noticed how it was a little bit easier with the X30, where there's not that throttle modulation with the Rotax compared to the X30. But it was there. They brought him over to get some added experience in the Pro X30 division. He was joining Adrian. I can never say his name.
I don't have it in front of me right now.
Renaudin.
Yes.
Sorry. Terrible with names. So, so again, it's, pretty cool to see. Again, I asked him, he's looking forward to possibly returning back for Supernats in the KZ category. So, maybe come back for a couple more times. He's not quite sure. He said whatever Velocity Racing is looking to do with him moving forward. So, he was not quite exactly the weekend he had hoped for. Certainly showed some pace early on in the weekend, but issues here and there limited his results.
Copy that. What else we got, David, for the Paddock Pass?
Yeah, it was really cool to see the championship in the KA Junior category, featuring 3 drivers all locked up with the same amount of points after the opening 2 rounds. So we did a little photo shoot with them on Friday.
I like that.
Kind of very similar to the IndyCar front row with 3 drivers on the front row. So we had Max Weiland, Tristan Murphy, and Nathan Dupuis all in the photo. So I don't think we had ever seen a championship having a tie between 3 drivers ever in the Pro Tour history. So just kind of did a photo to kind of note that and mark that in the history books on EKN. So very unique. And they were joking about it, having a good time when we did the photo shoot. I was asking them a bunch of questions: who was quickest, blah blah blah. Who would come out the weekend as the driver ahead of one another, and so it was a good time.
I like that. I think that's a really cool program. Let's go to another break. We get back. It's time to get at it. We've got 8 categories to dive into here to give you the race report from this past weekend Spring Nationals down in Ohio. Stay with us. When we get back, we'll get right into it with Pro Shifter and Pro X30. What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is Superkarts. The Sodi brand returned in full force during the 2023 season thanks to the new exclusive importer, the Karting Distribution, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Superkarts is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from mini karts to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Sodi Racing USA has expanded its dealer network over the last year, bringing the Sodi brand to several local clubs and regional programs. The Sodi Racing USA by PK Sports is the official race team, producing many victories in different levels across the board. And the new Pro Race Academy is designed to cater to the next generation of motor racing, helping boys and girls aiming to make their mark. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about Sodi kart chassis or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Superkarts, the world leader in the karting industry. Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. Ignite Karting utilizes the spec Margay Ignite K3 chassis with a Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and the Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the rookie, junior, senior, heavy, and masters classes compete on the same Ignite K3 chassis, which puts all the emphasis squarely on driver development. Additionally, Ignite Karting is accessible at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for the season include the Ignite Majors that begin with the annual trip to the Daytona International Speedway as part of the WKA Daytona Kart Week, running in both the sprint and road racing events. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the regionally based Ignite Challenge, featuring 5 iconic facilities. Local club programs have also been established in states all across the country, Idaho to Texas, Nebraska to New York, with more tracks and clubs joining the Ignite Karting program. Be part of fast, fun, and great memories with Margay Racing at an Ignite track near you. All information on Ignite events and Ignite kart packages, including dealers in your area, are available at ignitekarting.com. Get off the couch and onto the track this year. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion. Back at it with a new edition of the EKN Debrief. David Cole going to unpack the entire weekend down at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati in this year's Superkarts USA Spring Nationals, the second biggest Spring Nationals in the 16-year history of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour. We're going to dive into the race report and really, of course, get things underway as we normally do with the Pro category, Shifter and X30. This race report presented by Franklin Motorsports. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and they can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. They specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, and of course, their championship-winning Merlin chassis. They've been supplying racers with start-to-finish support at race events for years, from providing a helping hand on a weekday test outing or at a club event to full arrive and drive packages at the highest level of karting competition. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. All right, David, let's get underway with Pro Shifter, the category with Superkarts USA, presented by PSL Karting. And here's the headline. Conquer becomes first Canadian to win in headline shifter division.
Yeah, it's a unique stat that I was able to pull up, and after thinking about it, the great thing was Pro Shifter was the first category on the racetrack for the main event, so I had some time to think about it before I had to go to look at the record books. But yes, the Pro Shifter category was certainly a unique one, very competitive all weekend long. And Rob, one of the things about the MCC facility, very tough to pass on, so qualifying was very key. To be able to keep yourself up front. Of course, with the Pro Show, they split up the qualifying groups. The even group was led by AJ Myers at 52.234, with the odd group led by Corentin Rousseau in the odd group with a 52.344. So very, very similar times. They did the Super Pole session, taking the top 6 from the two groups. Combine that into a 2-lap run with AJ Myers coming away with the pole position in the Super Pole session, a 52.326 over the Kiwi Jay Irwin, who is coming off a top 10 performance at the KZ2 European Championships. Billy Musgrave, Stars winner here in 2024, was third with Rousseau finishing the session in 4th ahead of Michael Avancino as the CRG driver, capped off the Fast 5. So go into the 2 heat races to wrap up the action on Saturday. Rousseau was able to come up and be the quickest driver. This was a little bit of a argy-bargy race, a lot of jostling for position. Rousseau was able to show a little bit of dominance in that race as he took the heat win by 0.6 over AJ Myers, with Jay Irwin back to 3rd, Musgrave back to 4th, Josh Conquer up to 5th. Second heat race, a little bit more spaced out in terms of not a lot of jostling for position, as we did see Myers and Irwin go 1-2 with Rousseau coming up from 4th to finish 3rd, Conquer up to 4th, and Bailiff, who recorded a DNF in Heat 1 after contact with PSL driver Mateus Morgado, defending champion. He was able to come back with a P5 in the second heat race. So a little bit of drama there on the end of Saturday and throughout Saturday. That set up the pre-final grid with Myers, Rousseau on front row, Irwin and Conquer row 2, Musgrave and Avancino in row 3. Pre-final, again, not too much craziness. The top 5 very similar. Rousseau was able to get the hole shot and beat Myers out for the pre-final win, with Irwin, Conquer, and Musgrave falling in behind. So that was essentially your top 5 starting grid for the main event, the 25 lapper that saw Rousseau get a great hole shot. He and Myers battled a little bit on that opening lap, but Conquer came up and was very aggressive early on. Originally had Myers back to 3rd, but then Myers got it back, and then Conquer took it over that spot once again. And Conquer was able to run down Rousseau bit by bit after Rousseau had gapped up for the lead after a great little battle for second there, as we talked about. Basically, it came down to the last few laps. Conquer was able to run down Rousseau, finally get to the rear bumper, and made a great move with 3 laps remaining in the downhill turn 11. Kind of catching Rousseau off guard, but with that way that the downhill, uphill corner is, Conquer just pushed out just enough to kind of slow the momentum for Rousseau after he was getting past. That was the gap. That's all Conquer needed. Was able to secure the lead and the win with that move, going on to secure his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory.
Yeah, very impressive. I got a chance to see that pass and be able to get through. And that's just big. We look at the pro shifter category and think of the drivers who have been up front for so long. The Myers, the Musgraves, the Morgados are kind of in the front of that pack. We're seeing more younger drivers, and those are getting more experience running more of these national events, working their way to the forefront. And I think that's just for Josh Conquer to come away with that. Number one, huge for himself, as you mentioned, the first Canadian to win in the headline shifter division. His dad actually messaged me and asked me that. I was pretty sure he was the first Canadian, but I'm like, that's a David Cole question. You got to go to David so we can have a look at the spreadsheet to find out whether or not Conquer actually was the first Canadian. But big for Josh. Huge for the Vermont Karting Company as well. Maranello, the brand. Maranello getting a big victory as well there too. For me, David, I just love seeing big breakthrough races like that, right? Conquer's been strong. He's been doing a lot of star stuff as well, running up in Canada. But man, you win a Pro Tour race at Pro Shifter. That's a big accomplishment.
Certainly, and again, talking to him after the racetrack, he knows this one and knows it. Knows it very well, so that helped build the confidence. He was able to continue to get better throughout the weekend, and that was kind of the opposite. He got better, other drivers got worse in the main event. Again, different conditions. I thought the track changed, but talking with like a driver like Billy Musgrave, I said, "Did the track change?" He's like, "No, but we tried something and it went the wrong direction." So. Everybody's putting on new tires for the 25 lap main event rather than running the 10 lap heat races. I believe there might have been 12 lap heat races. I can't remember. But they had the pre-final in the morning. It's just the racetrack is certainly different. It's not, if you miss a setup there, that's going to hurt you because it's a very tight racetrack. You got to get off the corners very well in order to get down the straightaway quick enough to keep yourself ahead. And as we talked about, it's very narrow, so not a lot of great passing opportunities. That downhill corner, probably in the shifter cart, is a lot easier than the single speed guys because you got the four wheel brakes. You can able to get down there and do a move like Conquer did on Rousseau. So yeah, it's it definitely for the shifter cart. This is a very tough and challenging racetrack.
Dave, let's wrap up the top 5. Rousseau comes across the line P2, but that's not the way it ended in the official results, was it?
No, a disqualification for exhaust port. So something in the engine did not measure out correctly. So unfortunately, the Catalyst driver on the Ital kart will have to take a DQ and certainly hurt his chances in the championship run.
That moves Jay Irwin up into the second position. And David, with that, Irwin will take over the point lead in the Pro Shifter category as well, heading to the Summer Nationals.
Yeah, he's been pretty consistent again over the first two events for PSL karting on the Brill Art. So, yeah, he's looking very positive. Talked to him after the race. Yeah, he's focused on getting this championship for sure. Kyle Wick finishing third on the GFC, so a good podium run for him. Had the speed, just quite didn't have the ability to get up front in clean air on the weekend.
Yeah, and David, that's the first time you've mentioned him. So just think about overall pace on the weekend. He was never really top five in any of the results or in qualifying.
No, again, it's very tough to pass. They certainly found the pace, I think, come Sunday, because Kyle was one of the quickest drivers, I think, on the racetrack.
Okay.
Once the main event started. So again, they found a little bit of something while others did not.
Renaudin, as we talked about before, the Sodi kart finishing in fourth, Mateus Morgado in fifth. Morgado back to P5. David, your overall thoughts on it, on the reigning champion? Where is he? Let me just go to the points real quick here right now. Pro Shifters, Jay Irwin P1, second Billy Musgrave, third Conquer, fourth Myers. Morgado now down to P5 after the first two rounds of the series.
Yeah, and again, with Bailiff coming in as the race winner, he had the lead over Musgrave, and then Morgado was third. So yeah, the jostling of position. Bailiff suffering a DNF in Heat 1, and then a DNF in the main event. Electrical issues limited his power. He was into the top 10 finally once the main event started, but unfortunately, issue for him there. Morgado did not make Super Pole, so he again had to fight his way forward.
Okay.
So that was the story. He just did not have the pace. It looked like he was fighting everything and everybody throughout the heat races, including his Brill Art teammates. So just didn't quite have everything put together. Irwin, for the most part, led the Brill Art crew. And there's many of them there. He had the pace, had the ability to run up front and challenge, just didn't quite was able to pull it out on Sunday, as he was lacking just a little bit of speed compared to Conquer and Rousseau.
Wow, big stuff. All right, let's move on to the Pro X30 category presented by Kart CRG USA. Here's the headline for Pro X30. Norberg and Lawrence sweep for RPG.
Yeah, it was a nearly complete sweep on the weekend for RPG, but it was Alan Isambard on the Rocket Racing Company entry LN racing kart that set fast time in the opening round of qualifying, a 55.239. Unfortunately for Isambard, that would be all we kind of would see him at the front, as a pretty heated pre-final saw Gus Lawrence making his SCUSA Pro Tour debut, coming through with the pre-final win ahead of Norberg and veteran Paulie Massimino. Main event was Lawrence and Norberg able to get away early. Eventually, Austin Garrison was able to join them up towards the front. Norberg finally got around Lawrence for the lead, and then Garrison quickly took care of Lawrence as well, too. Making it a Norberg Garrison show once again, like we saw in Texas.
Yeah.
Garrison was able to get the lead before the white flag. Unfortunately, Norberg timed a run to the checkered flag. The drag race out perfectly. It was just, it was again, talking with Garrison, he wasn't quite sure which way to go. Garrison carried the momentum to the outside, and Norberg was able to time the move just right to get to the other side. Not kind of a crossover, but not really, because it's a kink that leads you onto the straightaway. And Norberg got there to the line by 20 thousandths of a second to claim his second victory of the season.
Yeah, that is big, no doubt about that. Garrison coming home second again by that scant margin. Ruben Moya for Pantano on the Ford Direction Motorsports machine ends up in third. Lawrence in fourth. He's been strong since coming over to run here in the U.S. And Alan Isambard, David, you had said good speed, qualified P1. That ended up bringing him into the top 5 at the end of the day.
Yeah, good speed on the weekend. Just didn't quite have it to land himself on the podium. Lawrence
picked up where he left off with good speed on Saturday and put it on the pole. Won the pre-final as well on Sunday. All told, a pretty good Sunday for Gus Lawrence.
Yeah, a little bit of a battle in the pre-final. Massimino actually led at one point, but Lawrence was able to take the win in that race. And then Massimino got shuffled back all the way to the tail of the field at the start. So an unfortunate start for him to what could have been a promising run at the podium for him. So Lawrence was up front and essentially had this in his hand throughout the race. Leading wire to wire for his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory. But really the fight on the racetrack was watching Norberg coming up from the 8th spot. Again, not exactly a great qualifying performance by him. Kept him out of the top 3 in the pre-final, but he was able to work his way up through the field, got into the 3rd spot, began running down Austin Garrison, who's running 2nd. And again, very similar to what we saw on Saturday. It was a drag race to the line once again. This time, Garrison gave him a little bit of muscle on the way to the checkered flag. And unfortunately, the officials deemed that as driving down and issued him a 3-second penalty. So Garrison, who crossed the line in 2nd, was dropped down to the 6th spot to move Norberg to the 2nd spot on the podium, joined by Ruben Moya for another podium finish on the Pantano. Definitely a big improvement for him and the Ford Direction Motorsports crew from Texas.
Yeah, Diego Ramos finishing in the 4th spot. Ty Fisher rounding out the top 5. David, you think about that. Obviously, Garrison and Norberg rather essentially in a battle for the championship right now, and that a big swing. Where did Garrison end up going down to?
6.
So P6 for and a win and a 2nd for Norberg. Norberg with a pretty solid little championship lead right now. 11:22 to 10:62. You never want to let Norberg have that kind of a point lead going into the finale weekend.
Essentially a 50-point swing because he would have been 180. Norberg would have been 170. Norberg got the 180 and he dropped to a 142. 100%. So yeah, that's a big one.
Good finish for Ty Fisher as well. We talked about him in the in the Outlap preview show, David. Big, obviously great last year at the Supernats, becoming one of the the top front running kind of junior drivers. But he has really come out of the gate strong. I know he's running USF juniors, but he had a really good weekend at the Winter Nats at Speed Sports. And another top 5. Ty Fisher looking good running against the top guns here. So was he 14 years of age right now? Pretty impressive.
And what's more impressive is it's a single kart operation because he's the only TB kart in this X30 category. Wow, again, there's some others that are in the KA senior division, but he's the only TB kart out there in Pro X30. So that's even more impressive as he's able to tune the kart himself. Figured it all out by himself without a teammate. So that's definitely a cool factor. Unfortunately, we won't see him or you at the Summer Nationals as you guys will be at the USF Juniors program.
We will. Shame. I'd like to be there. All right, let's go to another break. When we get back, we'll continue this race report presented by Franklin Motorsports with KA100 Senior, KA100 Junior, and X30 Junior as well. All part of the next segment on this edition of The Debrief. Ready to step up your game? Joining the Rawlison Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Supernationals winners, and Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national-level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups and are focused on developing those cadet and junior drivers who are ready to take the next step in their racing program. Rawlison Performance Group has set a new standard with our in-house engine program, AVP Engines, headed by Alex Vincent. AVP has become the benchmark in IAME competition. we have the largest OTK inventory that follows our race team, providing trackside parts at all the major events in North America. RPG also offers multilingual support with French, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking staff. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. The Rawlson Performance Group. We race to win. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in the world of karting with a never-ending focus on winning. Kart CRG USA is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, Kart CRG USA supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. The CRG KT5 has been designed specifically for the US market. The KT5 is the perfect fit for X30, KA100, and other tag platforms, featuring the new Aero package and VEN 11B braking system. For cadet drivers, the CRG Black Beer continues to log in victories and championships across the globe, and is utilized in both 2-cycle and 4-cycle competition here in North America. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, continues its excellence for those in the shifter kart ranks. The CRG FS4 chassis is the ideal choice for racers in Briggs & Stratton competition, with numerous podium results across classes at the CKNA divisional and national events. From pure racing to karting entertainment, many tracks, both indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the CRG Centurion rental kart line. 5 different models for both gas-powered or electric engines can fit any track's needs for a new rental kart fleet. Kart CRG USA has a full inventory of rental karts available for new and existing facilities. For more information on the CRG product line, head to kartcrgusa.com, or to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at sales@kartcrg.com. Back at it for episode 150 of the EKN Debrief, where we cap off our EKN trackside coverage. David Cole was, of course, at the track all weekend for the Superkarts USA Pro Tour SpringNationals at MCC this past weekend. Let's dive in and continue with the race report presented by Franklin Motorsports. KA100 Senior, the category sponsored by Nash Motorsports. Here is the headline: BJR doubles up with Massimino and Overbeck.
Yeah, it was nearly Brandon Jarzak Racing sweep on the weekend. They're one of their new drivers, Fernando Luque, who actually suffered a concussion in one of those major incidents last year here at MCC. Redemption for him, a top time in qualifying on Saturday of 57.812. He was certainly among those in contention all weekend long, but the pre-final, Paulie Massimino drove his way up to the top of the order, ahead of Speed Sports winners Diego Ramos and Oliver Hodgson. There was a lot of drivers up at the front of the field in this one, with a lot of jockeying for position, both pre-final and final. Massimino got shuffled out of the lead there early on, but put himself back into the lead on lap 8. And then the following circuit, we saw contact between Moya and Hodgson in turn 4. That shuffled up the lead group, allowing Massimino to get a little bit of a gap ahead of the rest of the group. Eventually, it was Diego Ramos and Jose Carlos Hernandez on the Orsilon machine. They were second and third, but weren't able to run down Massimino, who had the pace on the day and was able to keep a 2.7 margin of victory, gap, to earn the main event victory, becoming the third different winner on the year.
Yeah, big Saturday victory for him. Ramos, though, David, did not hold on to that P2 position, did he?
No, a jump start penalty for him dropped him from second on the podium down to 7th. So that promoted Jose Carlos Hernandez to second, Fernando Luque up into the 3rd spot.
Yeah, and James Overbeck, who we'll talk about being even more into the hunt, on Sunday, ends up in 4th position. Oliver Hodgson on the comp cart, rounding out the top 5. Rolling into Sunday's action, it was Diego Ramos on top with a 57.934. Not quite as quick as Luke Hayes' time on Saturday, but Ramos, David, qualifying on the pole position, but again, finishing second as Massimino. Seems like he was super strong throughout the entire weekend.
Yeah, talking to him, they just didn't quite have the qualifying setup down, but certainly had the race pace all weekend long as he, again, worked his way up to the front of the field in the pre-final, claimed the win, led the field to the green flag for the main event. And again, lots of jostling for position, and about halfway point, Overbeck and Massimino were able to lock up. And they were joined at the front by Brandon Lemke, another veteran and former Supernationals winner, Donovan Bonilla, to make up the 4 drivers in the lead pack. Certainly, they ran nose to tail until the final few laps, and that's when you bring a bunch of other people into the mix as well, too, towards the end of the race. But on the last lap, Massimino was able to get to the lead through the back section, but Overbeck, very much like Norberg did, timed the run onto the straightaway just right, was able to win the drag race to the line ahead of Massimino by 74 thousandths of a second, earning his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory of the season, becoming the 4th different winner in the 4 rounds of racing.
That's amazing. Yeah, Overbeck, Massimino, and Lemke, Brandon Lemke, rounding out the top 3 drivers on the podium. Diego Ramos 4th, and that's an important 4th. You mentioned Bonilla coming into the fight too. He was P5 all told. A 4th and a 7th on the weekend, David, for him. If you look at the category, I'm looking at the points right now. Diego Ramos leading the points over Oliver Hodgson. James Overbeck's victory jumps him up into 3rd. Lemke 4th. Donovan Bonilla 5th. Paulie Massimino didn't run the class in Texas, but he's still 7th in points, despite not running at Speed Sports.
Yeah, I mean, pre-final wins gets you a lot of points, gets you 100 points each win. So there was 200 points right there as part of his 580 total that he does have. Obviously, championship, not a possibility for Massimino when you have to count at least 5 of 6 rounds. So, but still, the double duty certainly helping Paulie. And I think a lot of people have noticed that because it helps keep him busy. He's not overanalyzing everything. He's just getting on the racetrack and going.
Keep in the go-kart.
Kind of very similar. Yeah, it's just, that some people relish in that. And I think Ramos as well, too. You look at him, he's been the most consistent driver in the KA category, just not quite getting the luck. And in terms of the X30 side of things. So I think and then Ramos also driver coaching along with Paulie as well too. So these guys are keeping busy throughout the double duty weekends, but definitely Ramos he's been in this situation before. Unfortunately, I hate to bring that up, but I think it's been at least twice now that he's led a championship into the Summer Nationals and has not come out the champion. So, definitely the luck's going to have to be on Ramos's side.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fight, though. Ramos, Hodgson, last year's champion, Overbeck. It's going to be a good scrap for the championship when you guys head to Newcastle for the Summer Nationals. Let's move to KA 100 Junior, presented by TKG Barrel Art USA. And here's the headline: Vanchev and Pettit split KA wins.
Yeah, KA Junior sold out again, a very competitive category. A lot of different drivers were in the mix throughout the weekend, a lot of jostling for position each session on the racetrack. Qualifying on Saturday was led by Jackson Gibson at 59.161 to put him on top or on the pole position for the pre-final, where we saw, again, a lot of craziness happening in that race, where Alexander Vanchev came away with the win ahead of Max Weiland and Travis Pettit. Unfortunately for Pettit, he suffered a DQ in the pre-final for a reed situation on the engine, so that put him to the back of the field, moving Indy Anderson on the Kart Republic into the 3rd spot for the main event. The race was red flagged after some good racing going on. I'm not quite sure exactly what happened in the incident. I was in the far part of the racetrack where I can only see a couple corners, so not exactly sure what happened. I don't think there was a major injury, just possibly just a driver needing some attention. Again, I don't think there were any major injuries on the weekend, so nothing like what we saw at Speed Sports. So unfortunately, another red flag for this category, but they were restarted after doing 8 laps, where the field got bunched up again. But again, a few drivers were able to kind of break away, including Max Weiland and Alexander Vanchev. And then Vanchev took over the lead late in the race and was able to hold on to the top spot to earn another victory in the KA category.
Final results: Vanchev with the victory, Isaac Malkin in second, Max Weiland third, Nate Dupuis in fourth, and Jackson Gibson rounding out the top 5. Good points, of course, for Vanchev up front, but Dupuis still stacking up the points as well. David, we talked about the good speed out of Max Weiland. He showed that as well, 58.915, qualified on pole on Sunday.
Yes, he qualified on pole. Let me look at how he qualified on pole. Unfortunately, a post-final disqualification affected the entire results on the day. So technically, he was the pole setter or top qualifier for the day prior to the end of the main event. So again, very strange situation.
All right.
So still recognize him as the top qualifier, although he does not retain those points. So he was up front in the pre-final, but it was Nathan Dupuis taking the win in that race ahead of Weiland and Gibson. So they were among the drivers at the front of the field. So remember those last 2 names.
Yes. Okay, I'm there.
Dupuis, Weiland, and Pettit, however, were able to break away from the field. So it was about 3 drivers in the lead group, 3 drivers making up the second group trailing. And again, Rob, you're going to see jostling, you're going to see shuffling towards the end of the race, exactly what we saw. Bunches everybody back up again.
Yeah, I'm just good. Let me guess. Everybody ends up together on the last couple
Everybody ended up together on the last couple of laps. So, yes, Pettit led the field to the white flag and was able to maintain it through the final circuit and cross the line with the victory. So a little bit of redemption for him after getting that DQ in the pre-final on Saturday. So Pettit claiming his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory.
All right, but lots to unpack after that, because I could probably go through and tell you, folks, based on the results here. Max Cristia ends up in second, Vanchev ends up in third, Dupuis fourth, and Cole Medeiros rounding up the top 5. But a couple of drivers, David. Let's really dive into this. Max Weiland and Jackson Gibson, who actually finished second and third on the racetrack. We talked about Weiland with the asterisk on his name for qualifying pole. Give me the full breakdown on what happened with Weiland and Gibson.
Yeah, so Weiland crossing the line second, Gibson third. Both drivers excluded on the day for excessive carbon in exhaust.
All right. So
nothing more I can tell you on that.
That was it. Was it I got obviously questions. Was there carbon in the cylinder? Did they? I don't know. That's wild.
It says carbon in exhaust. So
right.
I assume that the carbon in the exhaust narrows up the exhaust, right? Because you have buildup, correct?
I would assume more back pressure, I guess. So
again, SCUSA is doing a lot of investigating on this stuff, and I would assume that's part of the deal. So again, I didn't know this until again I got to the hotel and everything was done. So yeah, no idea.
All right. Well, again, so what that has essentially done championship-wise is it's almost moved this into a 2-driver battle, right, between Alexander Vanchev and Nate Dupuis. They're separated by just 41 points heading to the Summer Nationals. Of course, we'll do all this when we do the Outlap preview podcast before that event. But Weiland still sitting in third spot, even with David the DQ. So had the good success early. He's back by 243. Tristan Murphy back by 267 now. The win for Pettit brings him to within 307, but this feels like it's going to kind of shake down to an Alexander Vanchev versus Nathan Dupuis battle at the Summer Nationals at Newcastle.
Well, again, Rob, remember, you can drop whatever race you want. So Weiland's going to drop a DQ.
I forgot about that too. You're right.
So he's essentially got his 3 rounds of racing right now to where he goes into the Summer Nats. He needs to get 2 big races. So
yeah. No chance for a drop if you're going to drop that one, right? That's
exactly.
Yeah, you're right. So the pressure's still on for Max Weiland, but maybe not totally out of it, as I talked about. Let's go to the next category, folks. X30 Junior. presented by Rawlison Performance Group. Here is the headline: Vanchev and Pettit complete double dips.
Yeah, that's something that I don't think we've ever seen in SCUSA Pro Tour history, where we saw one driver double on Saturday and the other driver double on Sunday. That's exactly what we saw in the junior category. Saturday was Vanchev's day, unfortunately, except for the qualifying session where his Rawlison Performance Group teammate Kyle Drysdale was able to put down fast lap a 56.755. But once racing began, he got shuffled out and down the order, so not quite in contention as the racing took place. Vanchev, however, moved himself up to the front of the field in the pre-final, taking the win ahead of Max Weiland and Travis Pettit, and then went on to earn a wire-to-wire victory. So very similar to what we saw in Speed Sports, claiming his third straight victory in the X30 junior category.
Yeah, big one for him. 2.721 seconds out front. Max Weiland coming home in second, Pettit third, Tyrone Kemper fourth, and Ashton Woon rounding out the top five. But a strong wire-to-wire victory for Vanchev there to put another one on the total. David, let's go into Sunday right now. Another new name up front in qualifying.
Yeah, Nathan Golseth in the RPM entry was able to put down a 56.349, so a big flyer. Possibly maybe the gamesmanship that we typically see in the qualifying session. He ignored it and put down a good flyer down. But it was Max Weiland taking the win in the pre-final ahead of Golseth, with Vanchev moving up into the third spot after some issues in qualifying where he was outside the top five. Main event time, Golseth unfortunately was out early, ending what could have been a good podium run for him. Vanchev and Pettit, however, were able to get together and break away from the field. But again, they were caught late, so a big group was shuffling around for the top spots. But Pettit, including Cole Medeiros, who was able to put himself into the lead at taking the white flag, but Pettit retook it on the last lap with an early move. I believe that was in turn 2 that he made the move after Medeiros went defensive. But Pettit was able to hold on through the final lap to earn his second victory on the day, but first ever in the X30 junior category.
Yeah, I love seeing these young drivers come through and get the breakout victories, right? They always open the floodgates, and we talk about wins breeding wins. They'll see some of these drivers be really strong and have lots of momentum through this summer season here through to the Summer Nationals. Medeiros coming home second, a .272 margin of victory for Pettit up front. Max Weiland coming home in third. Ashton Woon in fourth. That fourth place finish moves him to second place in points. Sarah Bradley rounding up the top five, David, but it was actually Jackson Gibson who crossed the line P5. Sarah getting moved up from sixth to fifth in the final tally.
Yeah, Bradley moving up to the fifth spot after a DQ by Jackson Gibson for a spark plug too long.
There it is. Alexander Vanchev leaves the weekend with a 191-point lead over Ashton Woon, Travis Pettit, Sarah Bradley, and Max Weiland rounding up the top five in points. Vanchev looking very strong here in this category as well as X30 junior class. All right, we'll go to another break. We come back. We'll cap off the race report segment of this edition of the Debrief as well. Dive into Master Shifter, Mini Swift, and Micro Swift. Are you planning to challenge yourself at this year's Superkarts USA Winter Nationals at Speed Sports in March? If so, get prepared by joining the premier regional kart racing series in Texas, in Houston, on the February 21 to 23 weekend. It's the first event of this year's Texas Sprint Racing Series, and it kicks off their 5-race schedule that travels all over Texas and Louisiana. Trips to the Amarillo Kart Circuit, Kart Moto, NOLA Motorsports Park, and the Dallas Karting Complex complete our calendar, and we're excited to welcome all of our racers back to the track. After the Speed Sports opener in February, the Texas Sprint Race Series returns to the Amarillo Kart Circuit for a weekend of night racing on May 30 to June 1. This track is based on the F1 circuit in Turkey, and the ownership continues to make improvements to this special facility. The TSRS will make its second trip to the Kart Moto facility in Crescent, Texas on July 18 to 20, and then round 4 is set for NOLA Motorsports Park on September 19 to 21. This year's championship finale will be held at the Dallas Karting Complex on October 17 to 19. Don't miss any of the action. Details on the rules and class structure, along with the list of the full championship prize package for the official Superkarts USA and International Kart Federation Series can be found at TexasSprintSeries.com. There's a new hot button name in American safety equipment, Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. New to the product lineup is the Stilo Carbon CMR karting helmet. Designed to revolutionize your karting experience, this carbon fiber crafted helmet is among the lightest on the market, without compromising on safety. The Stilo ST5 KRT karting helmet is manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material. The KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual-density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The Stilo ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision that is perfect for the youth helmet line. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva rib protector is unlike any other on the market, with a form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. The Carbon Curva 8870 version is FIA homologated and includes a chest protector. Head to StiloHelmets.com to review these products and many more to keep you safe on the track. Stilo, any competition, one helmet. Back at it for this edition of the EKN Debrief, episode number 150. Again, it is May the 28th on a Wednesday as we wrap things up from our coverage from the Superkarts USA Pro Tour SpringNationals from MCC this past weekend. Race report wrapping up here now, presented by Franklin Motorsports. Let's dive into Master Shifter, presented by Rocket Racing Company. Here's the headline: Barnes wins first as Presti gains redemption.
Yeah, the Master Shifter category has produced some drama throughout the first four rounds. A lot of interesting scenarios playing out. The round two winner, Scott Hargrove, was able to kind of lead the way on Saturday, setting fast time and qualifying at 53.845, and was able to win the pre-final ahead of Scott Skitchy Barnes and Scott Presti. Main event time. Hargrove and Barnes each led until Presti took over the lead in lap 11, and he would go on to lead the remainder of the race. Unfortunately, spark plug being too long put him as a DQ for the day. That promoted Scott Barnes up to the top of the podium for his first Pro Tour victory of the year.
Oh, man, that's tough. Barnes comes away with the victory. He'll take that after what was a struggle for sure in Texas. Scott Hargrove coming home in second, Justin Kelly in third, Gilbo fourth, and Cassels rounding out the top five. Rolling into the Sunday, David, another good qualifying effort for Scott Hargrove up top. Went even a bit quicker than he did on Saturday.
Yeah, 53.691, so nearly 2/10 clear of his time on Saturday, but he drove to the win in the pre-final. Unfortunately, came through the scale and tech area too wide, so a DQ in the pre-final that moved Presti to the top spot, and that's where he would stay in the main event. Eventually, Hargrove got up through the field, got into the second spot, and it looked like he was going to be able to run down Presti to make it a little bit of a battle for the main event. Unfortunately, his exhaust came off after the midway point, and Hargrove had to record a DNF. So Presti taking the victory by 6 seconds over Barnes, with Larry Pegram in the third spot on the podium, Justin Kelly fourth, and Pierce Baldus on the CRG rounding out the top five.
And again, this is going to be fun going into the to the Summer Nationals to cap off this year's program, as only 84 points right now separate your top three: Hargrove, Barnes, and Presti after the Spring Nationals weekend. So, indeed, good stuff going on in the Master Shifter class. Not a big field, David, but it's going to be a good battle up front.
You got to expect Joe Rook to show up and be a wild card on the weekend.
100% you will. Yes. Maybe even some more guys. Remember, it's Newcastle, right?
Maybe a guy like John Crow.
I was just going to say, it's Crow out there.
Maybe the Tim Hollowell will show up. That's the Newcastle one's going to be quite interesting because you're going to have these three guys racing for a championship, and you're probably going to have 3 to 5 other guys racing for race wins.
We need 20. We need to get some more of those local Newcastle drivers to come out and get out of here. That's what we need for sure, 100%. Let's go to Mini Swift, presented by Speed Concepts Racing. Here's the headline. Godshock doubles up for first career wins.
Yeah, the mini rookie putting in a strong performance on the weekend, but it was Aston Wyatt who was the top dog early on Saturday, 102.023, setting fast time in qualifying and going on to win the pre-final ahead of Win Godshock and fellow mini rookie Jaden Francisco. Main event time, pre-final. In the pre-final, Zane Burgess finishing 4th. The Saturday was a little bit of a wild one for this mini Swift category. Zane Burgess finished 4th in the pre-final, but was disqualified for the day for incident responsibility / dangerous. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I did not see it, but SCUSA officials deemed it as a very dangerous and incident responsibility. So he didn't even start the main event. He was put in timeout for the day. So that was quite an interesting note going into the main event. And when we did, Wyatt led the field to the green flag, and we saw a lot of heavy racing in this main event. I want to say probably about 6 to 8 drivers in that lead group going back and forth. Among them was Santiago Orlioli. He was eventually black flagged during the main event. I was told it was for multiple incidents where he was quote unquote Euro swerving, according to the officials. So he was being black flagged lap after lap after lap. I believe this was after the halfway point. He was, however, involved in the lead group, and there was a lot of racing going on. Eventually, and I think this was on the last lap, he made contact with Aston Wyatt while battling for a podium position. That dropped both of them out of the top 5. Further down, I believe Wyatt was still in the top 10, maybe fell out even further. So eventually, basically what Superkarts USA did was they disqualified Orlioli for the entire weekend for failure to acknowledge the black flag.
Ooh,
so
okay.
SCUSA laying down some law on the mini Swift drivers. So, but up front, it was Win Godshock who was able to get away from all this kind of chaos that was happening behind him. He was able to drive away to a 1.1 second margin of victory for his first SCUSA Pro Tour triumph.
Jaden Francisco finishing in 2nd spot. Enzo Di Janeiro coming home in 3rd. Connor Lipka in 4th. And Cameron Johnson rounding out the top 5. Francisco, that 2nd place finish, David, on Saturday, kind of rolled into a P1 qualifying run to begin Sunday's action.
That did happen. Francisco was quickest in qualifying, but it was Godshock's weekend. He was able to come away with a pre-final win. Again, working his way up to the top spot, and on Sunday, in the main event on Sunday, got to the lead by the halfway point after some early shuffling, and maintained that position throughout the remainder of the race to go ahead and score a 2nd straight victory to cap off what was a solid weekend for Godshock.
David, Zane Burgess, a run up from P13 to 2nd.
Yeah, a penalty in the pre-final dropped him down outside the top 10, and he was able to work his way back up onto the podium for a runner-up finish after getting some redemption after Saturday's issues. Yeah,
another podium finish for Francisco as well. He ends up in 3rd, Di Janeiro 4th, and Maxwell Macha rounding out the top 5. That's a big weekend. Number one for Francisco, just been very consistent. I think he's been on the podium all 4 races on the year so far. Enzo Di Janeiro right there. But, David, those victories for Win Godshock move him up into 3rd place in points. 186 back, not counting any kind of a drop. So Wayne Gottschalk in a really good weekend puts himself back in the championship contention, right? He's part of the discussion for sure.
Well, definitely has the tiebreaker with 2 wins himself, as Francisco and De Janeiro each have a win. So, yeah, a lot of different things could play out. Again, when you win twice in a weekend, that definitely helps you championship-wise.
Game changer for sure. Let's cap off this edition of the Race Report, brought to you by Franklin Motorsports, with the report on Micro Swift, a category presented by Velocity Racing by Sodi USA. Here's the headline. Aiden Go claims first SCUSA Pro Tour triumphs.
Yeah, about the top 6 drivers in the Micro Swift category were running up front all weekend long. Saturday was led by Dutch Westbrook in qualifying, a 1:03.381. But Lennox Lockhart certainly has shown to be very racy. Raced his way up into the win in the pre-final, was able to lead the field to the green flag in the main event. But in the main event, it was Aiden Go that had a little bit more pace than the rest of the field. He was able to take over the lead from Lockhart with 2 laps remaining and held on to the top position as the California driver earned his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory.
Yeah, big win, 0.122 seconds, just over a tenth of a second over Lockhart. Brody Stoffel ending up in the second spot, Jack Katowski in third, and Samuel Chavari rounding out the top 5 in the first of the 2 races on the weekend for the drivers in Micro Swift. Aiden Go, building off that momentum, David, from the win on Saturday, puts it on pole, qualifies P1 on Sunday.
But was unable to get the win in the pre-final, as again, it was Lennox Lockhart, again, showing great pace in the pre-final to be able to come away with the race win over Aiden Go, and Slate Harrell in the 3rd spot. Go was able to get away from the rest of the field early in the main event. However, Westbrook and Stoffel were able to lock up and were able to run down Go towards the end of the race. And then it was quite weird because they caught Go, they caught Aiden, but Aiden still continued to lead the way. I want to say they got by him at one corner, but Go run right back to the lead. But still, it was quite interesting as essentially Aiden Go recorded a wire-to-wire victory on the lap chart, but made it very dramatic in the end, as he was able to hold on for the victory by just 25 thousandths of a second ahead of Westbrook.
Yeah, a solid run for sure for him. And look, this is big for Aiden Go to get a couple of victories here. Dutch Westbrook holds the point lead after a strong second place finish there. Brody Stoffel coming in the 3rd spot. Lennox Lockhart in 4th position. David, who was 5th? I don't have it down here right
sorry.
now. I got it right here. Slate Harrell.
Yes, Slate Harrell
coming home in the 5th position. Championship-wise, Dutch Westbrook with a 48-point lead over Brody Stoffel. Both those drivers have been very consistent on the year. Talking about Lennox Lockhart being super racy. Zev Gottschalk as well. Those are 3rd and 4th in the points. Aiden Go, after a rough run in Texas, David, what a huge comeback here in Ohio to put himself back into contention as well. 2 big wins, as you mentioned, in Mini. We'll do that for you for sure.
Yeah, it's what do we have? The top 5 drivers in the championship, all with a podium finish. You got another driver, Jack Katowski, with a podium, sitting 7th in the championship. He's kind of him and Caden Cladera are essentially kind of out of it right now, but you got to factor probably the top 5 drivers. I know it's 194 points, but when you factor in a drop, a lot of things can happen. So this could be an interesting run to the championship in this category.
Yeah, Aiden Go's dropping an 83-pointer. That's a low point mark. He wasn't able to get any real results in that second round in Texas. So again, like you said, those drops are going to be a big factor. We'll talk all about those in the Outlap Preview podcast when we get closer to the Summer Nationals. Final break, folks. When we get back, we'll go through the Constructors Championship, which brands stood on top of the podium down in Ohio. David will wrap things up for the weekend, and we'll cap it all off, as we always do, with the EKN Trackside Live Race Calendar. 2025 is shaping up to be another historic season for Superkarts USA. A record-setting turnout competed at the 8th year of the Superkarts USA Winter Series, including the largest non-SuperNationals event ever for the organization in January. Champions were crowned at the February event, setting the stage for the transition to the SCUSA Pro Tour. This year's Pro Tour is set to visit 3 different states from March to July. SCUSA made its Pro Tour debut in the Lone Star State with the Winter Nationals, held in March at the Speed Sports Racing Park in New Caney, Texas. The SpringNationals is returning to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati in Batavia, Ohio, over the Memorial Day weekend, May 23rd to 25th. For the 11th time, Newcastle Motorsports Park hosts the SCUSA Summer Nationals. This year's champions will be crowned over the July 25 to 27 weekend in Newcastle, Indiana. Regional action is heating up for 2025 with the flagship Pro Kart Challenge program hosting 5 race weekends at 3 spectacular facilities, including the new K1 circuit in SoCal, Spring Mountain Karting in Nevada, and a highlighted return to Sonoma Raceway. The Texas Sprint Racing Series is offering 5 rounds of racing in 2025, visiting 5 challenging circuits from February to October. Growth continues for Superkarts USA in Mexico as well, with record numbers for their SCUSA Pro Tour Mexico and the Pro Kart Challenge Mexico Series. Set your calendar for November 12th to 16th for the Superkarts USA Super Nationals 28 as the event returns to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for a 3rd straight year. Be part of the largest karting event in North America. For information on all this and more, visit superkartsusa.com. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the United States, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. 8 brands under the OTK USA banner are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour, the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour and Winter Series, the United States Pro Kart Series, and even more programs throughout the country. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. Tony Kart, Cosmic, Esprit, EOS, and Red Speed have been joined by the Gallard, LN Racing Kart, and CS55 brands. To learn more about a specific product line or to find the OTK USA dealer near you, visit otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. OTK, the gold standard of karting. Time to cap off our 150th episode of the EKN Debrief, the wrap-up of our trackside coverage, where we did give you the full race report here on the event in question this weekend. Of course, talking about the Superkarts USA Spring Nationals, the midway point of the Pro Tour for 2025. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. Let's cap things off, David, with the Constructors' Championship. 8 different brands getting victories on the weekend.
Yeah, led by Cosmic with 4 victories. You had Vanchev picking up a couple. You had Gus Lawrence and Ryan Norberg also picking up victories for the brand. So Maranello picking up 2, one with Josh Conker in the headline Pro Shifter division, and Scott Skitchy Barnes also picking up his first victory on the year. Also picking up 2 wins was the Carlos Santos. Cannot talk this morning. CS55 chassis.
There you go.
2 wins. Along those were just Travis Pettit himself for Speed Concept Racing. Bennett and the Win Godshock entry picking up 2 wins, and Parolin picking up 2 with Aiden Go as well. LN Racing Kart and Tony Kart along with Croc Promotion all picking up 1 as well.
There you have it. Let's wrap things up, David. You had mentioned that there were a couple of red flags, but no major injuries, which is always a positive.
Yeah, the turn 1 situation is so much better. I think when the Cup Karts not Grand National, Cup Kart North America Summer Nationals had their 4th of July weekend, it'll definitely be a saving grace for the Force Psycho community that will be there racing. But in general, it's a great change again to this racetrack that began as just a place for people to make laps.
Yeah, country club racetrack.
It was never designed to be a racing racetrack. It was designed to make laps and go out and put down laps. So Like Sean Bailiff said, there used to be nothing at the end of turn one. It would go you could go all the way to the road where to get to the facility. So that is, again, a lot of different things been made. There's, again, still plenty of room there for everybody to get. Unfortunately, with the wet weather, it did, put a little bit of a mud situation in the paddock, in the parking area of the paddock, not the actual paddock itself. So, but again, yeah, they continue to make improvements to the facility itself. It was funny, we were talking. They were saying it was Caleb from Kart Chaser was talking about comparing, karting to golf. Like, what would be the Augusta? And I'd be like, well, this locker room in here is definitely the Augusta of karting for sure. But there isn't that, Rob. There's not that pristine facility right now that could be the Augusta National of karting, right?
Agreed. No, we need that. It'd be nice to see somewhere.
Something with a lot of green grass and azaleas, right?
Manicured hedges, you name it, right?
Yes, exactly.
Tree lined as you come into the track. Come on, let's play right to Augusta on that one. David, competitive racing in all categories. Just talking about it as you kind of get the feel, the trend, the overall theme of the race reports. Sounds like it was just hardcore racing all weekend long.
Yeah, there wasn't really dominating performances. So that's what made it competitive. Yeah, we had a couple drivers double up, but again, they earned those victories. They had to fight for those wins. So that's what made it very competitive. Now, Newcastle could be a different story where we see drivers able to run away and dominate on the weekend. So it'll be interesting to see if that competitiveness continues into Newcastle.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of Newcastle, one more weekend to go to cap off the 16th edition of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour.
Yeah, as you said, Rob, you kind of went through some of the championships that we'll probably cover in the outlap. Quite interesting scenarios in a lot of those categories. Nothing's decided. Nothing's even close to being decided, which is exactly what we want to see heading into a championship weekend. I know Xander Clements is all about his new Excel sheet that he was going to show me, and we just got too busy. But I'll be crunching the numbers. They'll be crunching the numbers. We'll be definitely following things as it happens in Newcastle.
All right, let's have a look at the EKN Trackside Live race calendar presented by Odenthal Racing Products. Motor mounts are critical to producing 100% of the power that your engine has and getting that and yourself to the podium each and every time. Odenthal Racing Products provides the best in the karting market today. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience, providing products with unmatched quality and value for the karting market. Check out their Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines and their 4-cycle Easy Set for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Head to odenthalracing.com to find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, made in the USA. All right, David, let's have a look at the events because we've got June just around the corner, a couple of trackside events there. You and I will be first and foremost at the Challenge of the Americas, their finale on the June 13th, 14th, 15th weekend. We're going to Grantsville, Utah. That was formerly Tooele, Utah. That was formerly the Miller Motorsports Park, then Utah Motorsports Campus. Now it's Burt Brothers Moto Park. We're going to essentially Salt Lake City. Going out to Utah for the Challenge of the Americas finale. Looking forward to that one for sure.
I believe it was also zoned in the Erta, Utah.
It was Erta
as well too. So
very true.
Nothing stays the same in the Salt Flats, I guess. With
urban sprawl, David. Urban sprawl.
So lots happening there, including rounds 7 and 8 of the 2025 Challenge in the Americas program. We'll wrap up this year's program and decide this year's champions in the 6 categories that we.
Yeah, but the only thing that hasn't changed out there is the racetrack itself. So right, the Alan Wilson design layout.
Yes, the one that was built in 2006, I believe. But there used to be what was there before, Rob.
That track, not that well, almost the same location, Black Rock Raceway.
There you go. Well, it was where the big racetrack is.
To a certain extent, I got to figure. We have to look at that. I have to find. I'll call Terry Bybee to find out exactly where that laid out.
If I recall correctly, the southern portion of the land of the facility housed the Black Rock.
I'll have to look
circuit.
at that. Good stuff. At the end of June, David will be back on the USPKS trail for the Wisconsin Grand Prix. The Briggs & Stratton Motorplex at Road America will play host to that event June the 27th to 29th. I believe the cool thing is, David, USPKS on the kart track, and there's actually a major event going on as well on the big track at Road America. I think the FRP Formula Race Promotions crew is going to be there as well. So there'll be F1600, F2000, Atlantic, all will be racing on track that weekend as well.
That'll be good to watch from turn 8 that the kart track is situated next to and inside the carousel, and we do get to hear all the engines zooming down the back straightaway into Canada Corner.
And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn on this one here or not, but let me just make sure I don't get myself.
I know. I was trying to go to the calendar as well too.
No. The reason why I'm bringing it out is because let me just go real quickly here.
Trans Am will be there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Oh, that'll be awesome. Trans Am as well. So here it is. Here, this is going to be a double. This is going to be a new double duty for you. Nick Palacio is actually going to run F2000 on the big track, while Lucas Palacio runs his kart on the kart track.
What?
Yeah. So Nick Palacio, Lucas's father, is a long-time accomplished F2000 racer, Formula 2000, Formula Continental driver as well. So he's going to be running with Eric Lambine, going to run the F2000 category and go back and forth from the paddocks to make.
Hold on. Get to go. No, I can't believe this.
He is. You mean the fact that he's not going to be trackside the whole time?
That's my point. He is such a karting dad. There is no way he's gonna give that up to go race himself.
He texted me on Sunday to tell me that's what's happening. So Nick is definitely going to be running F2000. There you go. And Trans Am though too. I love that. Trans Am's going to be running. That's good.
No, he won't be running Trans Am. But yes, there will
Trans Am.
be.
So
we're going to see. Yeah, we're going to see a bunch of nitro kart drivers in the field.
Thomas and Nunziata will probably be there, right? Sam Corey will be on track.
So some of the same drivers we saw in Sonoma, we'll be seeing at Road America.
100%. Yeah. And then, of course, if we go a little bit deeper here on the EKN Trackside Live race calendar, essentially 2 months from now, there's kind of a little bit of a break here in the middle for David, not to have to travel every weekend. The Superkarts USA Pro Tour Summer Nationals, we've mentioned throughout this podcast. The finale for the Pro Tour, July 25th to 27th, Newcastle Motorsports Park in Newcastle, Indiana. David, that is going to be a good one for sure. I really wish I could be there for the Summer Nats. I don't think I missed a Summer Nats in a number of years, but again, I'll be on the road as well. You guys will be there. I'll actually be at Road America that weekend for USF Juniors, so it'll be a good one, though. That's going to be a heck of a battle in all the categories.
It's definitely going to be that. Yeah, it will be weird not having you there for the Summer Nationals. Just like the Pro Tour's been going there every year, you've been going there every year. So, it'd be quite different. But yeah, I don't think they have confirmed which track layout. I know that was kind of the talk. The paddock is like, what are they going to like? Everybody's like, man, I hope they don't do this, or man, I hope they do that. Again, they'll probably make an announcement once we get into the month of June. So,
which one do you like, David? Do you like the Super Mile?
Well, that was a thing. I hate the Super Mile because I hate the carts going off to the back area where you can't see them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously everybody loves the, I guess, what do they call it? The ski jump.
The ski jump. Yeah. That's a pretty cool part of the racetrack.
But a lot of people don't like that because again, it just beats up the equipment so bad.
True.
Talking with some of the shifter drivers, they're not a big fan of the shark fin backwards. They hope it's just the national layout, whether it's backwards or forwards. I don't think they really mind, but, I thought the shark fin backwards last year was very exciting. Obviously, that was a big turning point where we saw Morgado and Myers come together. I'm like, let's go for act number 2. Like, let's do it again and see if, with the way the championship is and all these guys in the mix there and all the different championships up for grabs. I'm like, let's do it that way. Like, let's run it back in that
rewind
with the shark fin. So. I mean, again, you got Morgado, Myers separated by 1 point. I mean, let's go for Act 2, right?
That's it. Let's keep it going. All right, folks. So here we have it. Wrapping up this edition 150 of the EKN Debrief. More podcasts to come. We are setting up. We're going to have a couple of This Week in Karting's coming here pretty soon. We've got a face-to-face on the YouTube lined up for this Thursday. Again, it's time to talk Quincy Grand Prix. Back to Quincy in the park. When's that? It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yes,
it's Wednesday already. What is happening? Man, these days are just flying by. Thursday, again, tomorrow, 8 p.m. Are we doing 8 p.m., David? Did we figure that out?
Yeah, we'll confirm that later today.
All right, so have a look at that on social media, folks, if you're listening to this for the first time. Lots to come. And then, of course, our next one down the road, we talked about the fact that we'll be in Utah in the middle of June. So look for the Outlap preview podcast coming for the Challenge of the Americas finale as well. Lots of content coming here, of course, on the EKN radio network, on the podcast program, on the YouTube channel as well. Tons still coming, but that does wrap up again. Like I said, a historic 150th episode of the EKN Debrief. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We certainly appreciate it. But again, that wraps up our coverage from this year's Superkarts USA Spring Nationals. Thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden.